What's that? No, he's alive. She's doing a documentary on him. Sorry.
Uncle Fun, you're the... Whoops. Oh. Uncle Fun, you're the... What? Uncle Fun, you're the one. Rebecca Hofberger at the American Visionary Art Museum knew it the first time she met you. Your husband knew the first time he met you. And you're the only one I chose to make a documentary about. I've never made one before. And so, I hope you find it fun. Because, Uncle Fun, you're the one.
Oh, Uncle Funny's a good guy, man. Look, he can get out free cookies, man. They crumbled up in my pocket. I got like three free cookies today. Look at it.
You know that I've never seen him angry? Like...
I don't normally get mad, but when I do, you know, it's good. When you do, your body knows what anger feels like. And you go, oh, this is anger, and I really don't want to go there, but I enjoyed it while I was here. So you can say thanks for visiting, but bye.
Ted is if you took a baby deer, covered him in honey.
Uncle Fun, Ted Frankel, is my spirit animal. And when I told my husband, Jake Scruggs, this, he said, he's not an animal. And when I told Ted all of this, he said, I'm a whoopee cushion.
I'll do anything for Ted. If he calls me in the middle of the night, he needs my lung, that's fine.
Ted Frankel is to Uncle Fun as Kris Kringles is to Macy's. Just an old guy with maybe a twinkle in his eye and some magic in his soul.
People say that Disney World is the happiest place on earth, but Uncle Fun is. Uncle Fun is absolutely hands down the happiest place on earth and the best place in the known universe.
You can build a business and provide something that we may not think of as necessary, but absolutely is necessary. It's necessary to have those beautiful, colorful, brilliant, bright spots in our life, like Uncle Fun.
One of my all-time favorite movie lines from any movie is the original Arthur. He says, "Isn't fun the best thing to have?"
Well, I guess the origins of Uncle Fun started a long time ago. I'm trained as a graphic designer, and I work for 22 years in Chicago as a graphic designer. I've always loved to collect weird stuff, you know, weird visual stuff. So my studio was always jam-packed with visual things that would be a springboard for me to use in my work. And then one day I went to an old novelty store that was going out of business. And I was so excited, you know, the thrill of finding something really great. And I made my stack, and the guy said, no, I wanted to sell all or nothing. So I bought everything. And then I had all this stuff, and I had to open a store.
Because I've always thought of my store as the safe space on the Monopoly board.
Uncle Fun is the first place our parents let us go without them.
When you're here, it's okay to be who you are, and there is no judgment. Whether you want to be a sea urchin or look like a hamburger or a hot dog, we can handle it.
I come from Japan, and I come from a very stuffy, restrictive family where women are not supposed to show their teeth when they smile. So I used to smile like this. And when I saw him, I think I just went ear to ear smile myself because he was so happy, and he made me feel like it's okay to show my teeth and smile.
Like he knew how to put a smile on your face if you were like, he pointed out like, hey, you're really good at frowning.
And telling people that they're really okay and they can do whatever they want and just relax.
Well, if you're standing there on the outside, if you're standing there on the outside, if you're standing there on the outside, come on in, come on in. If you like your laughs on the outside, if you make your art on the outside, if you're documenting the outside, come on in. If a laugh is trapped inside your heart, or you simply have to try some art, like a documentary to start, you'll find everything you need to get what's inside, outside, inside. Well, if you're standing there on the outside, if you're standing there on the outside, if you're standing there on the outside, come on in.
It's like coming into like an old friend's house where you don't really have anything to say, but sometimes you just end up spontaneously laughing.
I really think it keeps some people out of jail, keeps some people out of mental hospitals.
I think everybody should go through a mental car wash when they're about 26 years old and kind of wash out your mind and take everything wonderful that you learned from growing up and keep it and grow with it, and take everything horrible and wash it away.
It's kind of fun growing up, and who would have known that? I mean, I still act like a kid and I still have a kid inside, but part of growing up is learning those lessons and learning no matter what happens that I'm okay. I like toys that did things.
Like?
Mr. Machine, who kind of walked. It was a robot, but he had a clear body. So he not only walked, you could see how he was walking.
He doesn't have any kids, biologically. But I don't think anybody on this earth has more kids. So his progeny, it's kind of like the trouble with tribbles, but there's no trouble.
People could bring their kids' art here and they could sell it if they want for the price they wanted to.
I think he truly cares about my kids, and he will even text me and ask me how they're doing, if I have to call out of work because of an illness or something like that.
There was a guy who worked here named Brett Neville. He is a playwright. Brett is the funniest, most wonderful guy in the world. And but he writes these dark pieces that are really interesting. But when you meet him, he is Mr. Fun. He's just wonderful and funny. And always I enjoyed coming in here and talking to him and then going to see the dark side. And that was sort of like a metaphor for Uncle Fun, It was fun, but at the same time, it was like, where did you get this weird stuff from?
So I would go anywhere, let's say to a grocery store, and you'd see a can of shoe polish. And you go, wow, this is really nice, and it was really designed well. So I would flip it over and see who did it. And then I would start treasure hunting by the person or company who had done it.
Oh!
And this is sort of an interesting story how in Chicago there was a company called the Valmore Company. And I had seen one of their tins, which was really well done from the 30s. And they were still in business in Chicago. And it was run by a gentleman, Morton Newman. And I tracked down the warehouse, and this is like a junker's dream come true, because you walk in, and here's all the tins from the 1930s, and Follow Me Boy perfume. And it was pretty much a total mess, which I'm really comfortable in. And his wife would be at one of the desks. There were like 40 desks, but only the 2 of them working there. And it was kind of a throwback. And we became friends, and I said, well, I'll trade you my design services for stuff in your warehouse. And then he decided to close his warehouse. And I bought as much as I could.
There was a little dark undercurrent of some things there, I think, too, which appeals to me. You know, old things kind of have that kind of like a mournful quality to them, I think, too. I like that mix, or that adds to the depth. That's part of the human soul.
You know, at first though, we thought you were gonna be a a store with those kind of things in there. Really, okay?
And I don't need to be making a ton of money. So as long as I'm making people happy, I'm giving them a bargain, and they can go out and sell it and make money too. You know, you really have to enjoy what you're doing. You don't have to worry about the money, because if you're enjoying what you're doing and giving people something that's a little bit different in a place where they can feel safe, you can't lose. I've sort of taken out worrying about money from my spirit, because it's there when I want it, and if I really need it, I'll come ask you for it. I paid employees first instead of myself, because I was working as a graphic designer at the same time.
I worked here, I had health insurance. You know, when some of the economy started to get bad, and and I was managing here, and he was in Baltimore, and we were talking on the phone one time, and I'm like, we have we need to cut out some of the expenses and stuff. Like, have you thought maybe we should cut back on the health insurance? And he was like, there's like no way, that's like not an option.
It's like Uncle Fun kind of had a high fidelity record store feel, where you could kind of talk to somebody who's behind the counter for a long time.
This is Unicorn Snow Globe. Oh, magical unicorn. Unicorns have mystical powers. I don't know what they are, that's what makes them mystical. Ooh. Woohoo!
So excited to get a job there. It was like winning the lottery.
I remember thinking, I've peaked, like I've made it.
And I was so happy about it. One of our customers writes for Time Magazine, or wrote for Time Magazine at the time. And in the Sunday, January 9th, 2005 issue, I was interviewed for a story called Work, Thank God It's Monday. And it was all about productivity in the workplace and being happy at your job. We had police officers, Chicago police officers, that would come in and buy 50-cent joke tailpipe whistles. So, and stick the tailpipe whistles in each other's cars, and it makes you think there's something is wrong with the car. One of the policies that Ted had that I did not enjoy was that we weren't allowed to really communicate to customers that it was time for them to leave. So sometimes we would stay open an hour later or 2 hours later if we had customers in the store.
When I was working there, I had plays that were inspired by people I met there. This guy, Louis Faustino, who was the handyman who came in, he ended up being the basis of a character I wrote for a play called American Dead that was really successful. And another play I wrote not too long ago called Megacosm that Red Orchid Theater did here in Chicago was drawn from the idea of selling toys. That was sort of the mecca for weird, junky stuff. And it's hard to think of the mecca will be gone, but it continued to inspire. And plus Ted sort of pushes you as an artist too. He wants you to not work there forever, to go pursue your art. And he tries to hire artists to work there so that he can foster that to, I'll pay you to work here and stuff, and it's going to be a hard job. There's a lot of lifting and a lot of organizing, and there's customers and there's money and it's cold and it can get frustrating, but it's also, the rewards are also great.
So my mom came to visit, and 2 or 3 friends, and they all came, and we went to get pizza, and we went around different places. I'm like, now we gotta go to Uncle Fun. And one of my friends was like, hey, didn't you say you needed a job? They have a hiring sign up front. So I went up front, started talking a little bit, and then Ted came over, and so Ted interviewed me. He said, well, let's walk down to the corner. So we walked down to the corner store, and so we're walking down the sidewalk, and we're talking, he's interviewing me, and we go to the corner store, and he's like buying a candy bar. He buys me a candy bar. He's like, yeah, you want a candy bar? I'm like, okay. So we get back to the store, and he's like, okay, well, bring by a resume, and I'll think about it. But I had mentioned that my mom was shopping in the store, so then I continue shopping, and then he goes and finds my mom, and he starts interviewing my mom. And my mom, like, nailed the job interview for me.
I remember watching movies upstairs with Billy. He taught me, he showed me one of my favorite artists, Lee Bowery. And that like totally changed everything in my brain. I was like, that's what I really want. I make sculptural garment. I didn't even know about Lee Bowery, and then I was like, oh, that's who I'm kind of like soulmates with or something. So yeah.
There was never a day that this was a job. I would have been in the store as often had I not worked here as I was working here. I mean, it's like, oh cool, I get to go spend 8 hours in Uncle Fun, and they're going to pay me to do it. And I'm going to give them that money right back for the stuff that I'm going to take. But it was probably one of the first times I ever budgeted just so that I could afford to continue to buy things here. You get a discount when you work here, and it was never enough. It was never enough.
Everybody that worked at Uncle Fun was a celebrity to me. And one time, I saw this guy on the street who used to work there. And I see him and I go, oh, you used to work at Uncle Fun! And I saw him grab the girl's hand he was with, and they ran away from me.
Celebrities, well, I've had my share, but a couple really famous have been Michael Jackson. We've had Pee Wee Herman.
So apparently he was on the plane, he's like, yeah, there's like these guys, and they all had like the same hats. I'm like, what, are you guys in a band or something? And they're like, yeah, we're in Green Day. Ted and I were book shopping one time, and we're going through all these books, and I found this like really cool book of like sports photos, and it had Muhammad Ali on the cover. I'm like, oh, this is like a cool book, maybe we should get this, you know, and I showed it to him, and he saw the cover, he's like, oh, I met him once. I'm like, Muhammad Ali? He's like, yeah, like, I went to his house, we ordered Pizza Hut.
When my husband and I got engaged, we decided we were going to have a Wizard of Oz themed wedding reception. And so, of course, I shopped at Uncle Fun for our decorations. And one of the employees, Billy, suggested, well, you could have a munchkin table where everything is oversized so that the guests feel small. So we did.
It was the perfect setting for a second or third date. You know, everything was just so damn wacky that, you know, you really couldn't take the date seriously. You couldn't, you know, and you couldn't take each other seriously, so you just had fun.
I worked with Jerky Treats for Dogs and Parquet Margarine and designed logos and books for kids. And then after a while, I realized it was much easier to please customers in a store than clients.
I bought something there once, and I don't know what it was, but it broke, and I wrote them, and they were like, oh, no problem, you can send it back and we'll send you a new one. And they just like sent me this most beautiful designed card when everybody had signed it.
By the way, are you jealous of my body? Look, I'm huge. Are you jealous of my body?
proudly individual.
When I was here, I was filming in the basement, The Fishman. So, Fishman 2, Uncle Fun's in it.
And rejecting of the stuff that was enjoyed by the mainstream. It was a celebration of the weird.
I went there every weekend for a while because it's like, oh my God, I'm so scared I'm going to miss something because there might be somebody else like me. There might be somebody else that wants it all, you know.
It was organized, but not in a way that you would usually expect.
Even the areas that Ted didn't try to make his store excellent, it was still excellent. Like he would make fun of, it's so messy here. It's so, that was perfect.
The best time was our Harry Potter group had a scavenger hunt, and they let us use their store as one of our destinations. So we had snakes in their store, and we had our group come through.
And I think it was about hold fast to those things that gave you joy in childhood and in your past, because they will be the sum of your parts.
I probably bored the hell out of you guys, but you never said go away. You always listened. And I was telling you how I was going to use those little pink dolls.
You may ask, what are these babies for? But that's not yours to ask.
And yeah, I would put the babies in a drink, things like that, and just, cause attention. But then it would also cause conversation, and then people would talk, and I'd tell them about Uncle Fun and stuff, And
it was in a play, and it was about pregnant women who were taking drugs, and she gets one of these bags from the dope seller, and when she opens it, these babies fall out. And I was talking to you about that, and you went completely serious, and you totally understood what I was saying.
It seems like other stores, they have more of one kind of thing where Uncle Fun just had kind of everything.
Everything in that store had a lookability of like a half hour, because as you're looking at it, you're thinking, oh, either I had this as a kid, and I did this or that with it, or I can give this to a kid and they can do this or that with it, or I can still be that kid and do this or that with it. And when kids come over and they want to play with it, you go, no, you can't play with my thing. And then of course you end up giving it away to them.
Because sometimes you just think, maybe I really do buy too much stuff like this or covet too much stuff like this that really doesn't have any function except to keep me amused. But keeping yourself amused is what's keeping us alive, isn't it?
Let's all go to Uncle Fun. Good times there for everyone.
The Nixon penny. New. Getting smaller.
The pregnant lady keychain that they had there was a see-through torso of a pregnant woman, and in the inside of her belly was a fetus, and the belly, I didn't see this for years, I didn't figure this out, but the belly came out and was actually a Super Ball with the fetus inside.
It's the funnest place in town, there is no doubt. They got things you don't need, but can't live without.
But sometimes it was amazing how much, you'd think we'd given away a car or something. Sometimes people were so into things like that,
Take your Bob Mitchell to go to your next week's pay.
I think when my daughter was probably, I'm going to say, in 4th or 5th grade, she and some of her little friends were going to make a video, and they needed some candy cigarettes, and we thought we would drive past Chicago Comics and run in there and get them real quick. So Violet comes out and she says, they won't sell them to me because I'm underage. And I was like, what? I'm like, get in the car, we'll go to Uncle Fun, he'll sell them to you. So we get in the car and go to Uncle Fun. Of course she got her candy cigarette.
Get the fake dog poop some fox spray.
And I just happened to ask him, I said, or Ted, Uncle Fun, do you have Oscar Mayer wiener whistles? And I was just joking, And so he found 12. And I couldn't believe it. And I knew exactly what I was going to do with those wiener whistles. I was going to celebrate my 40th birthday party, so all my guests got a whistle, and they played Happy Birthday on the Oscar Mayer Wiener whistles.
Oh, go to Uncle Fun.
One of the features of this one particular toy was intussuspension, which we have no clue what it means. And so Billy and I made up this game where we made buttons and it said, ask me about intussuspension. And then the purpose of the game was that we'd wear these buttons every day, and then when people would ask us, the rule of the game that every time somebody asked us, we had to state what it was in a way that we had never stated before.
Purple glittering a barrel and boxing nuns.
We got a lot of Obama merchandise when he was running up for elections. And my mom actually, she got a bunch of these bracelets for my friends. She put this in a whole bunch of like pennies in like this huge box, and when somebody opened it, they expected to get like I don't know, like, you know, big headphones or like an iPad or something like that. But no, it was just this and a whole bunch of change, because that was his slogan, change.
It's a one-stop pop rocks celebration.
The Pope John Paul II coin purse that I got for my mother for Christmas, and it was one of those things that like you moved like this, and it was a little hologram kind of action. So like I think maybe he was waving, or maybe it's him with the big Pope hat and then him with the normal Pope hat.
It's a hot pink rat think situation.
I walk in and there's everything I ever dreamed of having delivered to my mailbox as a child was now up and down the shelves. So I'm sure I tripped on my jaw because it was on the ground as I stared at everything. And of course, after that one stop, I was a frequent visitor till the end of what became Uncle Fun, because he must have furnished my house 3 times over with every doodad, knick-knack, novelty, crazy item.
And it's an uptight black light soul sensation.
My favorite current item at SciShow, it's the Badge of Honor, which is basically a patch with a little vagina on it, and it has a happy face.
Cause we all live in Uncle Fun Nation.
Belly tattoos for pregnant ladies.
Let's all go to Uncle Fun. Good times there for everyone. It's a fun place in town, there is no doubt.
So David Cassidy posts about this big, and hundreds of them, and so my posters weren't selling much, and I was selling for $2. I think David Cassidy, original poster, kind of cool. I said, Ted, how are you doing with them? He says, do you have any more? I said, yeah, I got tons. Why? He said, I sold out. I figured, what the heck's going on? So the next time I was at Uncle Fun, I look on the wall, and there's David Cassidy with a bunch of plastic mistletoe surrounding his poster. And you know why? Put a partridge under your pear tree.
I bought cola fart candy from Uncle Fun, and I wanted to see if it would work. And this was sort of revenge for my dad eating all my chips, all my like ramen and candy, because he would always find my hidden stash and take it from me. And he would always use the excuse, I put food on this table and I make sure that this family is running well, so I couldn't argue against him. I was only gonna give him 1. He ate 3, so I only had 1 left. Yeah, it was not a good night for my mom. He did not stop farting. It got so bad she had to sleep in the living room. And then my dad, he was scared for a minute. He didn't know what had happened. I mean, I could smell it from my room. But my dad, to this day, I haven't told him still. Now you know.
Oh, I hope I have something here that offends everybody. I mean, what would the world be if there wasn't a little offense to somebody?
The essence of Bend Over.
Well, this is one of the best sellers in the store.
Oh, yes.
People pair that with the Baby You Touched Your Genitals hand sanitizer.
Yeah. Oh, perfect.
Yeah.
I found this like pen holder. It was like a hole in the guy's butt, and you would put the pen inside. His head would lift up, and he would start moaning like, "Ah, yeah."
Oh, remember these? You put it in front of your eyes, and you can see through people's clothes.
Oh, I remember being at Uncle Fun, and one of the employees saying to me, "Hey, Laura, do you want some cock soup?"
There are a few things that were kind of, I don't know, little Jesus statues, but I'm quite sure Jesus has a sense of humor. He has to, because he gave it to Uncle Fun to give back to us.
They got things you don't need but can't live without. They got things you don't need but can't live without. They got things you don't need but can't live without.
Thank you for not telling me to comb my hair before I did this. What you see is what you get. So, but
For the
it's,
record,
it's
we
the-
love your hair.
It's
We
that,
love
it's that interesting thing. Once someone tells you you look good in a certain way, just like if someone tells you you draw with the line shaded this way, you know, you have to get rid of that to be yourself. And unfortunately, sometimes it takes something bad to wash away what people have told you to become who you actually should be, or who you are. I guess there are no shoulds.
So when you opened that first place, that was Goodies?
It was called Goodies, and it was on Halstead in a 300-foot space just south of Addison.
And when I walked in, every somatic cell in my body, every dendrite fired. I mean, just wow. I mean, just pop, pop, pop. To the point where I said, I have to sit down. And at that point, the person whom I didn't even know said to me, are you okay? Do you feel okay? And I said, I feel too okay. And he says, whoa. And I said, yeah, this is just amazing. I have to sit down. He says, sit down. And that was Ted. That was my first time meeting Ted.
The first entry was we stopped right at the door and looked around like, what have we discovered, okay? And barring hand flips and standing on our heads, we did other little things. We didn't do the yippee-ki-yay thing, but we did other little things. It was like, yummy, look!
And then it moved north of Addison into a giant space. I was maybe 6 or 7 years in the smaller space, and I always wanted this old warehouse, and the guy didn't want to sell it. And I would keep going, well, this is a great building, I would really like to buy it. And then one Saturday he called and said, you know, I'll get a tax break if I sell it. So I bought this building on a Saturday over the phone, and then you go, well, what am I going to do now? But again, you know, go with your gut. When you think something is right, just do it and deal with what happens next.
There was a special coupon here saying that if you brought in Liz Taylor, you would get a free gift from Goodies.
When I moved Goodies to the big warehouse, I had 2 unhappy sisters, and one had, for some reason, they moved to Chicago to be around me because I was the happy one. So when I moved to the big space, I said, well, come on in business with me. So we worked together about 1.5 years, and they kept arguing and fighting. And one day I got a letter from an attorney that I was fired from my store. This was Goodies. I was fired. I wasn't allowed to come in my store. And I go, well, I don't think this is right, you know, but I had divided my store into thirds.
And I said, oh, let's work together. So they were 2/3 and they went to an attorney. So I was locked out of my own store. And so I don't think this is right. And we went to court and they kept fooling around in court. And then the judge said everything was for sale. But I wasn't allowed to go in my store because I wasn't an employee anymore. And then my parents sued me because people can sue you for whatever. So I was disowned from my family.
What did they legally sue you for?
Money.
Oh, just they thought you owed them money for the store or something crazy?
I think anybody can sue any. So it didn't go very far, but in the process, I was disowned. So I lost my family. So when my parents recently died, I wasn't even listed as a son. Because in the will it says I predeceased them. So actually you're talking to the living dead.
Wow. Well,
that's pretty cool, huh?
Yeah, actually that's badass. Wow.
Yeah.
Cool.
And I don't even have to have a white face and black marks.
But I also saw you when you were remorseful because your sister betrayed you so. So I was really very sorry to see that expression on a man's face whose goal in life is to bring fun. I mean, seriously, who does that?
I think a lot of the things that happened in his past with his family led him to make his own world, and that world was Uncle Fun.
He said, remember, life is like a battlefield, and they can kill you, but they can't eat you.
But I'm so grateful that it happened because I learned who I am. When all that bad stuff happened to me, my friend said, I'm taking you to Hawaii and we're gonna rent a garage and be by the beach. So I said, I can't do that. And she goes, no, they just invented something called the fax machine. So I go, okay. And I was really depressed and I kind of looked up to the sky and I go, I give up. Whatever's gonna happen is gonna happen. And the next day, this is how it works. So you should always ask for what you want. Because if you don't ask someone or something for what you want, you'll never get it. So I go, I give up. So the next day, my friend Judy's friend, who lives in Hawaii, brought over the second in the command to the Dalai Lama. And I told him a little bit, and I go, I don't know how to meditate. And he goes, you're coming with me. So we walked on the beach, and he goes, all I want you to do is look at your toes and the sand going through your toes. And it seemed to calm me down, and I think my life kind of changed when I said, I give up.
Oh, you're going to make me cry. Of coming in here when my life was at its hardest, when my mother died or when my father died, when you just needed to get away.
During those off times that I had, going to Uncle Fun was, going to a spa while being immersed in like Captain Crunch.
So Uncle Fun, how you doing?
He's in Baltimore. He's going to be there, and that makes me wish I could visit there because he's in a museum for self-taught artists. And I asked him, well, how does their art compare to the professionals? And he said it's better.
American Visionary Museum is the national museum for untrained artists, and because they don't have the training that a regular, quote, artist has, it tends to come from their gut and their heart rather than their head. The same way that I went in business and kind of followed my gut and said, I can do this because I love what I'm doing. And the artists who are in the museum, some of them don't even consider themselves artists. They're just doing something they have to do. And I've been to different places around the United States where some artists, they love to do little drawings. And they'll do a black and white drawing. So they'll start drawing, and they'll draw and draw and draw and draw. And unless you take the paper away, it'll be totally black. Because some people don't know when to stop because they're just doing something they love. That's what the museum is, It's untrained artists, but all artists, they come to the canvas with whatever's in their background, you know, and the background isn't necessarily what people have told them, you know. And now, because of the Visionary Museum, you see what walls have been put up by teachers who have told them, this is the way you draw, or if you're using this cadmium yellow, this color should be next to it. The people at the museum couldn't care less, but that museum is filled with incredible pieces.
When he went to Baltimore, I did a story for the Sun-Times, and we were all, and I think we were at a restaurant in D.C., but what he said at the end of the dinner, it's a creed that I think we all can live by. He said, and this is toward the end of the dinner, he says, I'm going to do what makes me happy. If I'm happy, all the people around me should be happy. And if they're not, they can find other racetracks, other places to go. So TED is really part of my DNA.
Well, I think it would be fate that brought me to Baltimore. Because I came with a friend, Nancy Josephson, who's an artist. And I came to visit the American Visionary Art Museum. And we went to lunch, and on the way down, we met the founder and director who was giving a tour. So she stepped away from her tour, introduced herself, Rebecca Hofberger, and we talked for maybe about 2 minutes, and then I went back to Chicago. And then about 2.5 months later, I get a call from Rebecca, and she goes, hey, it's Rebecca from the museum, and you're the one.
Uncle Fun, you're the one. Uncle Fun, you're the one.
And of course I said, the one what? And she goes, I want you to open the store at the museum. And I said, well, you don't even know me. And she said, I'm very intuitive and you're the right person. And I said, nope. Well, I've had 3 stores in Chicago and I don't think I'm going to move to Baltimore. And she goes, no, you have to come down and talk to me. And another couple months later, I came down and she took me to lunch, and I thought, well, I really have nothing to lose. So I said, okay, I'll give it a try. And the next day I bought a house where you're sitting at the moment.
The next day?
The next day.
I didn't know anything about him. I just liked him. There was something about Ted I just loved.
Rebecca Hofberger at the American Visionary Art Museum knew it the first time she met you.
And very quickly, he said, I will come. He operates by intuition because it's not a logical thing after you've made your life for 30 years in Chicago to come to a city you've never been and to decide that you're going to make a major commitment. And everybody said, oh, this is such a jewel of a guy. We got to fix him up. And I was like, no, I'm going to really pray as to, is there somebody worthy of him?
Rebecca Hofberger knew Bill, and she set us up on a blind date.
And how did she describe Ted to you?
She said something about he's been in Time magazine, which, you know, that doesn't hurt.
Your husband knew the first time he met you.
We've been together ever since our blind date.
And of course, he didn't know that I had Googled him. So I knew what he looked like. I'm not sure he knew what I looked like.
So it was more blind on your side, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay, so your first impressions of Ted, that blind date, you see him standing outside the restaurant. What are your first impressions of him?
Very polite. I think that was my first impression. Oh my gosh, he's waiting for me out in front of the restaurant.
Married. But Bill is in the mayor's cabinet, and he runs the arts for Baltimore.
Oh, I have the best job in the whole world. At least I have the best job in Baltimore. Being able to work with artists every day, being able to have the confidence of the mayor. It's just at the end of the day, we have an opportunity to make lives better.
I've known Bill Gilmore for more than 20 years, and to be able to officiate their wedding it was very meaningful. I know how much they care about each other. They're truly devoted to one another, and I really worked hard in Maryland to fight for marriage equality, to pass the legislation. So the wedding for me had, it was multiple levels of wonderful.
Uncle Fun, you're the one. Uncle Fun, you're the one.
Have you met our dog Archie? Archie, say hello to the camera. There he is. Oh, there he is. I would say Sideshow is Uncle Fun on steroids. So it takes all the beautiful parts of Uncle Fun and adds the art component to it because I'm in the art museum. And because the art museum is this really wonderful museum that gives visitors permission to go home and try something they never thought they could do, I'm hoping that my store does the same. We have some art by Adam Hines.
Ted Franco just changed my life. He made me feel real good inside about my confidence and my possibility.
And this is from an organization called Project Onward in Chicago. And I've worked with them for a while, and it's a really great organization that works with adults with handicaps or mental and physical challenges.
Ted Franco, I will never forget this moment because Project Onward cannot exist, and it will never be the same without both of us here.
When I'm like, hey, Ted, do you want to go get lunch? And he's looking around and he's like, we were near Bridgeport and there was a gallery he wanted to go to over there. And he just goes, you know what? He goes, I'd rather look at art than eat.
I just love anything that was made by a human hand. I like samplings of a lot of different things. And that's the way I like to live.
Hip Hop Bunny. It's a cute little bunny for just a bit of money. He knows how to dance and he loves hip hop. But once a bunny hops, he just don't stop. He bends and poses, wearing headphones. Only at Uncle Fun. The place to be hip and hop and bunny. Peace!
I think there's been 7 stores that I've helped. There was one in San Francisco called Uncle Maine. Big Fun had 3. One in Minnesota, Sister Fun, and Fun Rockin' in New Orleans, and then various other little ones.
And I think what Ted taught me is that you can be yourself in this world, and you can not be normal, and that you can still do something that you love and make a success of it. And I think, if I had never had the experience of Ted or Uncle Fun, I'm not sure that I ever would have had the confidence to know that something like that is something that people want and that people would support and that would bring a little bit of joy into people's dreary lives in this miserable world that we live in.
I think this is hell. And I think God put us here to make it not hell.
At my store, I've taken the fun toy store idea and expanded it to every area of your life. Because we all need a pizza cutter. Why not have a motorcycle pizza cutter? I'm having an eyegasm. I never, ever, ever feel like I'm trying to sell somebody something, but I just want them to walk out of here happy. And that's what it's all about, really.
And what is Fun Rockin'?
So let's play it out.
Fart machine.
Right. Hi. What do you do for a living?
I run a toy store.
No, you didn't do that right.
I'm sorry.
Let's try again. What do you do for a living?
I sell fart machines.
There you go.
The magical fart machine in the basement, which everybody loves, because you press the top and it's the 40 best farts from around the world. There was a competition. I mean, you can't smell them, but you hear them.
So we still find old stuff like that in
Yeah.
Vegas,
Yeah.
stuff that people don't want. And, there's a reason people don't want that, but we still think there's people that still do want that. He just made all this okay,
But our stores are that place where you open this door to happiness. I was a stockbroker. Wow. But it was meant to be for me to meet Ted. And my life changed, I think, for the good. The joke is, when I opened my store, I went from stock to schlock. And you know something about whoops? Well, when you go to school, what do they tell you about snowflakes?
There's one of a kind. They're
That's
all
right.
different.
Each and every one's different. Well, guess what, kids? Same with this. It's a number 2 pencil. I gotta tell you, that's 2/3 of a pun. 2/3 of a pun. Pu. How much do I like bacon? I tell my wife I bring home the bacon every night. All right. Is bacon overdone? I like mine medium. And I finally realized 6 months ago what I actually do in life. And I make people happy, which is what Ted taught me.
Oh, look, plastered people. I mean, they're not drunk or anything, they're just plastered.
Are you sure you shouldn't open up a franchise? I wonder. But we wouldn't be able to franchise you now, that's the issue.
And that's the reason why I didn't sell my store and wouldn't want to ever sell my store, because I created my baby and I don't think anybody can put the same energy into my creation and carry it on.
When Uncle Fun closed, I was talking with Laura, and I told her that I thought I was more sorry for her than I was for Uncle Fun. Going back, we had so many Christmases and birthday presents, and kind of the running joke was that no matter what Laura was giving you, it was from Uncle Fun.
Now.
And now that it's gone, that whole strip is just abysmal.
Yeah.
Hopefully if you feel up to it, maybe reopening the shop.
And Uncle Fun, down at Uncle Fun.
He says, the last day, I'm going to post on Facebook, come on in, thank you for all those years of service, everything's free.
And it was sort of legal looting.
It's interesting going in the area around where the store was, and you always kind of feel it is there. And in many ways, it really is.
Not that all good things come to an end. All good things go someplace else to be good. And that's what happened to us, isn't it?
I could do, this is my TED Talk.
In my life, I've lost everything, and I've had to start from scratch again. And now, as you sit in my house and you've been in my stores, it just comes back. There's something about me and the way I live life that the universe takes care of me.
The fun never ends.
You can be yourself in this world if you want to be yourself. You can change your mind if you want, or wear a mask. See if I care, I'd recognize you anywhere. a souvenir. It's the last time I saw you.
Bye, everybody.
Uncle Fun, you're the... Whoops. Oh. Uncle Fun, you're the... What? Uncle Fun, you're the one. I'm never done talking about you and your stores forevermore. What stores are as good as you and yours? There are none that are as fun and have as many puns. To you I would run a ton for all the fun.
I always said Ted's the king, the grand poobah. He's the king. He says, no, Steve, you're the king. I'm the queen.
Uncle Fun, you're the one. Rebecca Hofberger at the American Visionary Art Museum knew it the first time she met you. Your husband knew the first time he met you. And you're the only one I chose to make a documentary about. I've never made one before. And so, I hope you find it fun.
Ted is the only guy at a toy show where toy collectors and dealers will unload your van or truck or car. So Ted would drive up in his van and these guys would unload it because they wanted to have first dibs at his stuff. I mean, they were like dogs. Like Ted was like in heat and these were dogs following the dog in heat.
Because Uncle Fun, you're the one.
I am Captain Howdy. Billy Captain Howdy. Yeah. I'm gonna get Uncle Fun next. I'm gonna get him next in Baltimore. I'm gonna visit his show I'm gonna visit a store, sideshows in Baltimore, Maryland. I'm gonna eat him up. Yeah.